Call the meeting to order. I don't always use that, that's fine. Could we establish a quorum?
We can. Do you want to do meeting, please, or do you want to wait for Okay. Chair Crane.
Present.
Vice Chair Wheeler.
Present.
Commissioner Bedard.
Here.
Commissioner G.
Here.
And Commissioner Fawcett. We have a quorum of 5.
Thank you. And can we say the Pledge of Allegiance?
Let me bring the flag. Sorry. I can display one. Give me half a second. My little flag.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Now we call for public comments on items that are not on the agenda. Do we have any members of the public online?
We do. Just 1 moment. There's one member of the public and they do not have a hand raised at this time.
All right, hearing none, we'll move on to items for consideration and action. First are the minutes. Do we have any questions or comments with regard to the minutes from our last meeting?
I move that we accept the minutes for the July 6th meeting as is.
I'll second the motion.
Okay.
Chair Crane,
Yes.
Vice Chair Wheeler,
Yes.
Commissioner Bedard,
Yes.
Commissioner G,
Yes.
and Commissioner Fawcett.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 2. This is a futures recommendation for NCLA. We did have, I did send the recommendation last night. And I asked this morning if it could be sent to everybody, but is there a chance that we can share it and just walk through it? It consists of a letter and 2 attachments. And so just to remind everybody, the NCLA did request that the Futures Committee submit information with respect to next steps regarding a feasibility study. So what we submitted last night was a letter recommending a feasibility study. We submitted a draft RFP as well as attachments.
Hold on just a second, Chair Crane. It's showing on this version, but not up here. So give me just a moment.
If you top left of the picture, maybe.
Right here.
They were moved off.
We were able to share with the flag, so
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's why.
I have to stop the video. Well, there's that.
Is Cindy able to- Cindy, are you able to see that?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, do one of my fellow members want to read through it?
Here did the heavy lifting.
Very good.
Thanks. Let's just go straight to the summary because I think that's the gist of it. The future subcommittee of the Los Altos Library Commission requests that the NCLA allocate funds to seek proposals from qualified professional architectural firms and consultants to conduct a feasibility study and design development for the purpose of proposing Los Altos library improvements. We then go through the background, which is the opinion we received from Claire Lyatt, the NCLA attorney, if you want to scroll down just a little bit. And the bullet points, I'm just I won't read through the letter, but it just, we go through where we believe the MCLA might allocate funding based on Counselor Lai's opinion. And we just, it's only a 2-page letter. So if you beg my indulgence. And again, there we go in and make the request to address fundamental issues with the structure of the library, be they for compliance to the ADA, suitable for implementation of services in the strategic plan like Open Plus, or just straight out safety for our children. Essentially, the rest of the document outlines a potential RFP that was drafted by Chair Crane for the actual tendering of this type of work. It's been done in the past through various subcommittees, and if you go down just a little more, the attached documents are actually quite interesting. The draft RFP I mentioned, we provided it both in PDF and Word for modification. The existing needs assessment, and we'll talk a little bit about this during services. So we really looked at this. What we did in 2019 really had a lot of impact with the survey. And there's an awful lot of materials. And what we did is we have Commissioner G's assessment of the services tied with a summary by the county, and then with a bigger breakdown tied to Los Altos and Woodland. And then finally, offsite on my favorite library.medar.com, I put together 3 different RFPs, full RFPs issued by Campbell, Oakland, and Monterey, detailing their assessments. So we have a good package. It's a 2-pager along with attachments for the NCLA to consider moving forward to get a consultant.
Is there a chance we could just show the draft RFP?
Absolutely.
We did review, if I may, we did review the request for proposals from the 3 cities. There's also a new one that was just published by Sunnyvale. And those were very helpful in coming up with this. This is just a draft. It's our suggestion. I expect it to be revised and changed. So this is the request for proposal. What's interesting is that this is based largely on Campbell's. Campbell's was much longer because they actually wanted plans and construction. So, right, so it was a lot longer. So we just sort of took the first part of it. And if you scroll down, we won't go over everything. You know, we talk about minimum qualifications for the consultant. Much of this, again, was taken from other sources. This is background material that was pulled from the previous assessments that were done. So this talks about the building, again, much like Campbell did, the needs assessment update that was done at the request of the North County Library Authority, the task force. Cindy, I think you were part of that. And so it talks about group 4, if you could just scroll down. So we can provide this to everybody. What's interesting, if we could stop there and just go up, what's interesting, the list that's identified in there, I think, is very similar to the needs that we see currently. So it's all there, and the request is to update this. If like, for example, number 6, lack of family all gender restroom and children's library restroom. So it's amazing how much you know, what happened before is still an issue. If you could keep scrolling, we talk about the architectural feasibility study, which was completed. Again, we summarize it here. If you could continue to scroll, and then there's the current state project description, and this can all be updated too as part of the process. There's just general language in here again, which is pulled from the other document. We recommend a technical advisory committee as determined by the NCLA to basically review the design deliverables, scope of services. I guess what I want to get down to is if you could scroll slowly, there is a chart that has a timetable. So this is what, I'm sorry, if you could pause there, this is what the deliverables are. We're asking for a, assistance in developing a work plan and cost plan, project schedule. Again, if you could scroll down, programming and space needs, which is really an update of the feasibility studies that were previously done. It has specifically requests for deliverables, building and site concept design alternatives. We have requested a minimum of 2. We could increase that to 3, but that's consistent with what Campbell did.
You went, oh, wait,
Sorry. Sorry.
what did you ask for 2?
Well, two, if you go up, so the NCLA, as I understood, was looking at options. And so
I
these
see.
are just building
Okay.
concept design alternatives.
I got it.
So concepts. And if you could go down, there's just more in terms of the deliverables. Again, we could increase that to 3. We could keep it at 2. Here's where I kind of wanted to focus the RFP timeline. I did go through a calendar. So we are meeting, I believe, on the 21st. So I gave them a full. I kind of first, and again, that month period was similar to what Campbell had said. Proposals evaluated by the 30th, interviews conducted if necessary, negotiations concluded, NCLA approval. And so as stated in here, the authorization to proceed would be around January 8th of 2024. Yeah, so pretty an ambitious timeline. Obviously, at the end of the year, there's a lot of time off. So that's what we've done. And then I don't know that you need to do more. It's just, again, proposal format and submission requirements. It would be submitted to Lisa Schmidt, NCLA president, care of city clerk, city of Los Altos. I mean, I put a lot of this in there, but I think would have to be discussed to make sure that everybody feels that it's appropriate. And I think that that's really all that's relevant there.
North Fair Street, Campbell, California.
Oh, there you go. I needed to update
Yeah,
that.
I think someone pointed out that January is 2024.
Oh, okay. Okay.
There's a few other
Oh.
date typos there.
There we go.
2021.
Oh, there we go. That's so, all right. So a few updates are needed. But yes, so this is just a draft. And then if we, yeah, and that's, I think it. Yep. And so that's it. I don't know if we want to show the other attachment that's lengthy, but it was the good work of our Commissioner G.
Just summarizing what people already have put together in a different form.
Could you speak up a little bit, please, Melvin?
Yes, it's a summary of a lot of materials. There's a large data book that was compiled. So I just went through and decided which ones I wanted to pull out because they seem most relevant.
Great.
Are there any pages you think I need to highlight? Okay.
I think if people want to take a look, it's part of this meeting package.
It's not in the packet, but I will send it out because I didn't get it till.
Yeah, this morning.
It should also should update the packet.
Yeah,
Since it was just like,
Yeah,
I can
we
do that
will.
tomorrow.
we'll update it and add it into the packet.
Okay, and I can make those two minor revisions with regard to that. People want. So that's submitted and will be discussed on the 21st for the NCLA. So any discussions?
So, yeah, can I have a questions?
Yeah, of course.
Do you have any idea of the cost of feasibility study like this? Okay. I wonder if we could find out from Campbell or some of these other cities as to what the price tag was for them.
We could certainly.
Yeah, especially if we could find something that's a little comparable. I mean, Campbell did the whole shebang.
Oakland was a bit involved too, because they had various requirements for unions. Okay.
Okay.
The Sunnyvale one was just issued, so I don't know what was up that, but yeah, I don't know. That might be part of the commission. That might be part of
Do
the
you have an
submission.
idea?
So I do. So, so you know, I'm gonna give you broad numbers. So I would say anywhere between, I mean, really broad would be between 50 and 100,000. But I would say probably 60, 70 is probably a good guesstimate on it.
Okay, and I would imagine that before that fund comes in, we probably have a prioritized list of our requirements. In other words, there are certain must-haves like the restroom area, ADA compliance, door.
Absolutely, and you know, thanks to your good work and other work that's been done by the district, we do have a lot of background, as you guys have pointed out. So I do jokingly say a feasibility study of feasibility studies, but we do have a lot of that information that could be applied. And to your point, there's a little bit of working backwards, knowing what your funding essentially would be on it. So that also will put a little guardrail around kind of what the ask would be.
Do you know, if the nightmare scenario applies where if you touch the building, that everything has to be brought up to code?
I am not an architect, so I don't want to speak to that. You know, specifically, I think these are the questions, you know, that we need to explore.
Anthony might
Yeah,
have insight on that.
I think it depends on the building code. I think it depends on the percentage of what you're touching as a remodel versus a complete new structure. I think it's 50%, if I remember correctly. I think, is it? I'm getting a shake in the head from Pierre, so maybe.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you're right on that's true for residential,
Yeah.
absolutely, but I think the nightmare scenario we're talking about is if we open up the roof and see something that's odd, is that what you meant? by that?
I have always heard that when you decide to remodel a building that's subject to ADA,
Yeah.
first you have to, everything has to be ADA once you touch it. But I've also heard, and I mean, I know nothing, so this is worth nothing, but I have also heard that when you remodel buildings, that electrical is like one of the big things that has to be brought up to code. And so I'm just wondering, because I mean, everything, you spend all your money on things that you can't enjoy, but you have to have, and it's a safety issue.
I mean, I do think you are going to be already touching the roof with the proposed patio door. Because if you look at that overhang, I don't see how you can.
Actually getting due for a new roof, actually, period, this
Okay.
year, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, we actually got a new roof.
Yeah.
Yeah, so really, yeah.
Because those eaves are.
Well,
those
that's
eaves are on too. If you look at those eaves, I don't think.
They're very unique.
How you could put in a door, a sliding door without already, so I think you're already going to be somewhat into your nightmare scenario. But I do expect as part of the study that whoever is selected, I mean, that's what they're supposed to be providing, is this concept and what we can do, or what can be done within the NCLA's budget.
Chair Crane, I think Cindy has her hand.
Yes, hello.
Hello. So before I talk about the feasibility study, I just want to make one editorial comment about the packet that you all have sent to NCLA. The formal name of the task force was the Library Redevelopment Task Force. And I think that's very important to keep that there, because that's how people will have referred to it throughout all of the older documents. But that's just a minor editorial request. And since I was the co-chair of that redevelopment committee, and along with Suzanne Epstein, what we really strongly remember is that when the audit of the building was done by the structural engineering company, It's everything that you all have said about the ADA compliance, electrical, and then also earthquake, bringing it back up to today's code because it meets the code of when it was last remodeled, but it doesn't meet today's code. So you're right, it's a lot of changes will come up as you go through the feasibility study. And that's all my comments right now. Thank you.
So Cindy, what you're saying is that if we remodel the building, that we do have to bring it up to code for electrical and seismic?
It depends on, as you were saying, on the percentage. At one point, we were looking at remodeling the entryway. And if that percentage stayed under a certain number, then a lot of the other things would not have to happen. But as soon as we started to touch exterior walls and the roof and the ceiling, yeah. So that's why our structural engineering firm, which actually was the one that the city had used for the community center, suggested that the use of funds is better as a tear down rather than as a remodel, because we would end up spending the same amount of money and getting less for it. But things may have changed since 2018.
And that's what we expect the person hired or the group hired to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't have your name because you don't have a name.
Oh, you didn't.
Anthony. Cool.
Cool.
So what I would suggest is that the city come back to us, because I know commercial, I mean, I went through a big remodel, but it wasn't non-commercial, right? So, and I know what the city did to me. So it would be great if the staff could come back and with rules on what, you know, a great idea.
Yeah, I was waiting for a time to chime in that staff can take a look at that, especially because it is a city building. And so I know the rules are different for the city buildings. And so I'm not sure exactly how that would be able to play with the building code. So.
And again, this is not something that we're doing. This is something that the NCLA requested of us. So it's the NCLA's decision.
Yeah, we can at least gather the information and then provide it to you all at the next meeting. So then you have it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very good question.
Since you brought up the roof, I have another question. You said the roof needs to be replaced this coming year, 24, and under the contract, whose responsibility? That's your responsibility. Okay, we'd like a roof with new bathrooms. That's the trend these days.
That's all we're doing.
Have loft bathrooms.
There you go. Throw in an elevator will be good. Any other discussion, questions?
One more comment. In the package, we really put the package together to educate the NCLA as to what's been done in the past. And there is, I apologize if I get the name wrong, Plan 4. Task force that, and it's in this package.
So, yeah.
Actually, can I say something though? I made it an attachment because it's a third-party document and I didn't feel that it should be posted anywhere. So that's why I attach it to the letter. The same with Harker, with the 2019 study done by Harker. It's not something I think that we'd want to put. I don't know if we can put that.
You can certainly put your letters in the public pack.
Yeah. But anyway, I'm just telling you my minor concern on that.
Do I have more questions?
Not that we can answer, but.
Well, can we just talk about next steps? And I mean, I saw the timeline in there, but could we talk about like what Anthony is going to go and get some guidance from the city? And can we talk about, you know, like, what are your plans?
Nothing other than showing up at the NCLA meeting and seeing if they have questions or comments. for clarifications. I clearly have some updating to do. And so that's it. It's with, that was the ask. It's within their hands and
I got it. I got
yeah.
it. Okay, thank you.
Good question. Anything else?
I will say one important note is that this information I'm going to provide is probably going to be an answer that government loves, which is it depends. So I'm more than likely going to get a response from our building official that it depends entirely on what the scope of the project is, where it is, things like that. But I'll at least try and get as much information as I can. for you.
Yeah. And actually, maybe you would be part of the process that this group would utilize to come up with a decision. Would be great.
Yeah, I would say that this is happening because Julie had that meeting where all the interested parties came in that had to do with the library. And as we got into some discussions, it became clear that NCLA actually wanted us to pose some questions to them because they had this money, but they felt that they were very restricted in terms of how it could be used. So letter to the attorney response, and now this. So we're hopeful.
See. Any other comments or questions?
Oh, Cindy has a comment.
She said that the documents are actually already public documents because they were funded by NCLA and they followed the Brown Act standards when they made them public.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on. The commission handbook. So discuss changes to the commission handbook approved by city council.
Yeah, so we put it in the packet so that everybody could take a look at it. I put the red line version in it. Most of the changes that are in there, we already have discussed. And so I just put it in there for people to look at it and see if anybody had any questions or comments or anything we could answer about it. There's a couple things that are still going to change probably. There's another conversation happening at City Council on August 22nd about two subjects about commissions. One of them is subcommittees, and the second one is conflicts of interest. So they are going to have that conversation on the 22nd, and I think then there'll be more information and possible changes based on that. But right now, there weren't any huge changes in the handbook. I just wanted you to have it. Most of them we talked about last time, which are the size of the commissions, the frequency of meeting, those kind of things. So I don't know if anybody had any.
I have one quick question. I said nobody may join more than one commission. Would that block me from joining a Los Altos Hills committee? Because it's quite common in Los Altos Hills for people to belong to 3 different commissions.
That's a good question.
I don't think we would govern that.
No,
I think that would,
it's
I think it only prohibits from being on multiple Los Altos commissions.
Do we want to talk about the subcommittees?
I thought that we should wait until after council
Okay.
has their discussion and maybe provides some additional guidance. We know that, so Freddie and I have talked about this before, that the handbook does say no standing subcommittees. So subcommittees aren't supposed to really last longer than a year, and that's different than the way the Library Commission has been structured. And so I think it would be good for the commission to start thinking about that and how what ad hoc subcommittees could be formed. So possibly instead of having the future subcommittee, maybe there's a Woodland Library patio subcommittee, and the subcommittees will only be 2 people once the commission has shrunk down to 5. So it's something to start thinking about, how it might be structured differently to comply with what's required in the handbook.
I was just thinking of that, and I think I don't know that it's that challenging for us, because I do think, so for example, we could have, two people appointed to a services committee. It would also be great if we could invite Wally and friends and the county to be part of that little group, to make sure that we have some discussion with our other interested parties. But they could be, for example, and I'm just making it up, look at, create a list of services that our people might be interested in. And then that stops, and then maybe one of those services is a Dropbox. And so then it's, okay, we'll form a committee to look into the Dropbox. Does that make sense? And like she said, the patio,
There'll be a lot of ad hoc committees,
it could be, yes.
which are okay, I think.
Yeah.
No, 2, because we'll be 5.
Yeah, because you.
Right.
Just knowing which two
And
ones.
yes, and you have to be careful about crossover.
You can't, well, from listening to Sally, was it last meeting or the meeting before? When Sally talked about the rationale behind why subcommittees are problematic because of the Brown Act, it sounded like you could not be on more than one, you could only be on one subcommittee because of the problem of crosstalking. So like right now, Nelvin and I are both on the infrastructure, and Carol is on the infrastructure, and Carol and I are on the awareness. Right. So we violate. No.
Well, as long as you don't. Right. Well, yeah, that's the
So
thing.
we show up for our subcommittee meetings and we sit there in silence for 30 minutes and we say meeting adjourned. But so it sounded like we could only be on one subcommittee. If, and that subcommittee has to be an ad hoc committee.
I think it has to be an ad hoc committee. I don't know if the city is directing that you should only be on one committee, because I think I like to say you get 2 attorneys, you get 3 opinions, and we see in Los Altos Hills that you can be on more than one.
But you only have one city council.
Oh, I understand. Well, and that's the thing. The question is what we're getting directed to.
Yeah.
I think currently, as long as we don't crosstalk issues, because I've had that come up where I know something and I specifically refrain from saying it in one committee because it was discussed in another. But yeah, we just need to wait for direction.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think, it's a good question for.
We'll get our rules of the road.
Yeah.
From the council.
Yeah.
And then
But it's good
We'll
that
figure it
we
out.
start thinking about how you want to restructure the subcommittees as a commission of 5 and with no standing subcommittee.
somebody doesn't need to be on this. No.
Well, somebody could be a one person who works.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, there's got to be some flexibility or creativity is what I mean. Yeah. So conflict of interest and subcommittees will be next when they come back. Okay.
Yeah.
That's the plan.
Yeah,
I think I know the person who's gonna draft the report,
Yeah.
so
it's the great.
we'll see. We'll see how it's looking.
Can we get special distance for your favorite committee? Yeah.
Are you going to, in the conflict of interest rules, are you going to concentrate on, what it's always been, it's a financial interest, if there's any possibility of a financial benefit, then there's a conflict. And
So this is council direction. So I think more than likely, at least this is my guess, that when this goes to city council, it's gonna be more of a discussion rather than city staff presenting options. So it's gonna be what does city council want to pursue for this? What
Oh,
is the
okay.
city Council's
they haven't
thoughts?
given direction then as to,
Up to this point, no direction. They just said that they wanted staff to bring it back as a discussion.
I got it.
So,
Because the FPPC has always held that the only conflict is a financial one.
right, and that's where it'll be up to city council to provide direction, and then we can draft something to go forward for them.
Okay.
Okay, so I've moved over here, sorry, because there's a glare that's making it difficult to see. Any other? Oh, there we go. Oh, it's all
Like the door.
The table, yeah, for me, it's the table. This one? Yeah, in the corner. Yeah. There goes down lower. I can roll. I can roll a little bit, yeah. Thank you so much. All right, any other questions on the commission handbook?
Yeah, I mean, I got issues on the interpretation of how the subcommittees are set up. I don't agree with you whatsoever. I think that every year it starts every year when the new commission takes place, even though the subcommittees might have been the same name. They're different. People may change, roster may change, focus may change, the work plan may change. Also, I think you need to give the commissioners a little more benefit of a doubt that there's a conflict in terms of things between the committees. I mean, I served on futures and services and knew quite well the delineation of what areas I was looking at. And just because it says services, it doesn't mean it's all services. It might be focused in on one thing. So I mean, fine, you guys, we do what we want, but I'm just telling you, I don't agree.
It is possible that each year you reestablish a subcommittee, because it does say they can't last for more than 1 year. And the subcommittees here have, I think, lasted more than 1 year. But there
That's
could
one view.
easily be other interpretations, but again, we're just gonna wait for council's direction.
Fine.
Well, it was 1 year when I was the only person on the futures committee. So I was.
So whatever.
I think is your point that even though it has the same name, it's a different subcommittee because
My point is, it's a different commission when the new chair comes in and you change the membership. That's all. It's a refresh.
and
That's all.
also the things in the work plan change.
Yeah.
You know, so it's, maybe we should,
So I don't,
just changing the name,
well,
you know, which is
it's-
pretty
look,
superficial, but.
when I set up the committees,
Mhm.
I took out you were there, I think. I took out a pack of playing cards and I wanted to keep everybody busy, right? So we had 4 subcommittees and people picked out playing cards and put their playing cards in the spot randomly. And that's how we came about doing it. And we agreed that these were 4 general things
Mhm.
that all libraries somehow fit under.
And needed, yeah.
But we got people working. And that was my intent. So to just say, well, you can't do subcommittee, yeah, you got the Brown Act, you got this, you got that, yeah, I get it. But you got to look at the purpose and, what we were doing to get people going.
Yeah, and we have communicated that on this commission, I think the subcommittees work very well and are productive, really productive.
There's other issues, I get it.
So,
I
but,
know.
yeah.
Yeah, also, if we have an odd number of commissioners, 5, and we're only allowed to have 2 members on each subcommittee, and each person can only serve on 1 subcommittee, basically we're limited to 2 subcommittees.
Yeah, and I don't know that those are exactly the rules yet.
And it would mean, I wasn't kidding, it would mean that one commissioner wouldn't be able to be on a subcommittee. Or they'd have to have their own.
A subcommittee by himself.
Yeah, we had great meetings.
I think we're gonna get more clarity from the city attorney when this gets discussed. What are the rules And I guess that's the real question. What are the rules? And then what does city council want to do with those rules as far as Pierre's point, interpretation of the rules? And how do you take what's the concrete evidence and actually put it in reality, which is 5 members, how many subcommittees can you have? Can people be on multiple things like that?
What section deals with conflict of interest? In the, I know I can do a search, but
It's the very last section, right above, or should be-
Page 9.
I mean, we're not really, to me, conflict of interest is a huge thing. And I think limiting it to only financial or by strict standards, legal standards. I mean, there's some things that don't feel right, and there are things that feel right. And I just think that conflict, I don't know how they're going to deal with it. I mean, I've watched the council deal with all sorts of different types of commissioners throughout all their actions. But I'm very interested to see how they view conflict and how that discussion is going to go. But I submit that I think it's going to be more than just financial.
I want to make a comment. If it is more than financial, then I think conflict of interest rules should apply to council as well as commissioners. And if you tell them that, they'll know exactly what I'm talking about. To your point here, a few years ago, Jan Pepper pushed through a lot of breach codes. And she's the president of an electric, of a Silicon Valley energy company in San Mateo. And she worked hand in hand with Silicon Valley Clean Energy. And under the common law conflict of interest rules, there was a conflict. Under the FPPC rules, which is apparently the only rules that the city attorney believes applies to council, it's only a financial conflict that applies. So what's good for the goose is good for the gander. And if you're going to make rules about conflicts that apply to the commissioners, I'd like to understand the argument why they don't apply to council.
Are you excited about being on the?
Well, okay,
That'll be a question.
just make a note. It's actually a note for Jolie. Okay.
Any other questions, comments? All right, moving to the library usage presentation.
May I ask a question? One more question, sorry.
Sure.
On the previous agenda item. So is it, I mean, I shouldn't even ask this, but does the city now have the arbitrary, reading this, it seemed like if the city wants you off the commission, they can vote you off.
They've always had that.
They've always had that? It just seemed easier this time. Maybe I just thought it was a lot harder with other commissioners.
I think you always have served at the pleasure of the council.
It's just a matter of getting up to the
Appointed
council
by
and
them.
vote.
Yeah.
which we weren't able to
But
do.
they can't take any action that would violate.
Okay, never mind.
Nothing, I don't think anything's changed about the process for removal of commissioners.
The previous situation, the vote actually had to come before the council and no 2 people to get there. You had to have 2 people to do it and nobody would take it up. So we can talk offline if you'd like, but anyway, thank you. Sorry for the interruptions.
Okay, moving on, the library usage presentation. Rose, thank you so much. This was, I believe, an outgrowth of a question I had, and that was that I had been concerned that perhaps our recovery wasn't as good as the recovery of some others, some other libraries. And it didn't, the orientation, I think, is off in the document that we got, but if you sort of scroll for the green, it shows those are the boxes. It shows, what's interesting is that Los Altos was trending downward before it went into the, to COVID, and then it shows the numbers. Is that right? Are you gonna show it?
I'm working on it.
Okay, yeah. It was attached.
Check this out.
I mean, it looks like Cupertino has come back quite strong. As well as Saratoga.
I mean, I can just turn the video off again.
There you go. So was you unsure who did this?
Yeah, we we have Lynn Harris. He's one of the staff members who does I think he's an analyst, his position, but he does all these wonderful stats. So yeah.
Unfortunately, the side of this was cut off and is on page 3. So the most recent stats are on page 3, which keep going, or not page 3, maybe. There you go. Wait. 20,000. So I thought this was really insightful and helpful to see how we were doing in terms of percentages. And I can tell you, I took it and I started doing percentages to see how we did. And so it seems that we did it seems that we're doing well. And if you go to, if you scroll for the other greens, like on page 13, like I said, I think the orientation kind of skewed, but page 13 is where you can see Campbell's numbers. And then I won't have you scroll through more, but other numbers are there. So that's Campbell, for example, and how they've come back. And yeah, you can look at the others. There's Cupertino, which has come back. That's on page 19, which has come back, fairly significantly, although they're still only at half of what they were prior to the pandemic.
Yeah.
It looks like that to me. I'm ballparking, but so the most recent number at the top, July, 45,000. And if you move to the right, prior to the pandemic, it was 80, 81. So maybe more than half. Yeah, they've come back more recently too. And then you don't have to scroll, but there's also Saratoga. That was helpful. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Anybody have any questions or comments? No. Hearing none. Item number 5, Main Library Patio Project Advisory Group. So this is discuss appointment of a library commissioner to the Patio Project Advisory Group.
So yeah, I do have some good news is that we are moving forward with the patio project, and we have a meeting set up on August 7th at 10 a.m. And we would like to have a commissioner at the meeting. And this is kind of the meeting to get everyone together on this, to get everybody on the same page. So we'll have architect, Nick from the city, the donor, Lolly members, of Orchard City Commons, Dr. Elizabeth Ward, Jennifer, and myself. And so we're hoping that somebody from the commission would like to join. And the idea is for the same person to continue as the part of the advisory group that would move forward with the patio project.
I think it's going to be Nelvin,
It can't be me because I'm on the Lolly.
because they're representing Lolly. And
And
so
it's in person, I want to add, it's at the Les Altos Library.
that would be, so I don't know when August 7th is at 10.
It's August 7th, 10 to 12, the meeting, yeah.
Did you know what date that is?
the Monday.
To be pretty soon. It's really soon, so, and we don't have Carol here. We can see if Carol is interested too. I do work, so that would be hard for me to commit.
Not ideal for me Monday morning. No, not this Monday. And how long's the meeting likely to go? How long is the meeting likely to go? Yeah.
There will be a lot more meetings going forward.
You expect the cadence to be monthly?
I don't think we've really gone to that
We
point.
really haven't. And this is an invitation. We love your participation. We understand if you can't. Rose will certainly report back to you. We are still absolutely in the discovery stage with the city. So, we want to just make sure we had all of our stakeholders at the table in this initial kickoff, and then we can go from there.
If nobody's available, I can do it, but I definitely need to get out my new hospital.
Somebody else, Carol, too?
I think if she's.
And here, are you interested?
Yeah, I am, but I just don't feel like I've been heard with any of my stuff on this project. So, I mean, I don't know that I sort of feel co-opted. I feel sort of co-opted joining just to say the library commission supports it. I just feel I have some strong personal feelings about the whole effort. The difference between private and public, I've made that known to people. But I'd serve if you needed somebody, I'd do it. I'm certainly not working, but I got to tell you, you guys know I need to be convinced.
Well, okay, so should we ask Carol?
Well, I think we have Christine.
We have Christine and Carol.
Here.
Don't sound too thrilled about it.
No.
It's,
No, I think
I
they
don't.
are looking for a volunteer and somebody who's willing to raise their hand. And so it sounds like Christine has.
I'm only on one services subcommittee, so it's logical. It's just that sometimes there'll be a bit of a time.
This isn't just that time. It won't always be Monday, the first Monday. Again, we kind of had to put our stake in the ground to begin somewhere, based on various people's schedules, Dr. Ward's and Nick's and the architect. So, yeah. So thank you for that.
Monday, so what I'm taking.
Yes,
off-
I apologize. We're
But anyway.
full to come.
So Christine,
Yes.
I'll start it out.
okay, so we have Christine.
Thank
Okay.
you, Christian. Thank you.
Christine, we'll get you an invitation, an email invitation. Thank you.
It's the orchard room, right?
Correct.
We don't need it.
Like there's a choice.
No, we don't need a vote. We're good. She just volunteered, right?
Yeah.
We're good. Okay. All right, thank you. Anything on to community partner updates? Lolly? Did you want to talk on behalf of Lolly?
Yes, just reminding myself to take me off of mute. At the July meeting, Freddie led the meeting for me because I was out of town. Although I was able to listen in, I wasn't able to talk. So thank you again, Freddie, for being an excellent chair. And our main topic was about the patio project and how to move forward. So we have both Freddie and Suresh, who will represent Lolly on the committee that is being formed. The other big project that we discussed was the Woodland Patio funding. There is strong interest from Lolly to continue to talk to the Library Commission about it. And if it looks like it's going to go forward, that we want to be considered as a possible funding source. We're not fully committed yet, but it's in a positive direction versus a no direction. And we have our next meeting this Tuesday afternoon, and Julie's received the draft agenda as the representative to the Library Commission. And so far, the agenda really has not changed. And it's a very short update because the majority of time, like I said, was spent on figuring out what we're going to do next with the patio project. Questions?
I have a question with regard to the Woodland patio project. What would you like from us? Because it sounded like you were like you're not committed, but that if we choose to go forward, and I think we are committed to going forward, what would next steps there be?
Sure. I think part of it is a discussion of whether or not this, if we were to fund it, does the funding really benefit the city or does it benefit the library? Because the way Lolly's currently organized based on our bylaws, the funds are supposed to go to library changes and improvements versus city improvements. So that's why the main library patio project is doable for us to fund because it's within the confines of the library, as in it would be attached to the library. Whereas the Woodland project, that hasn't yet been determined.
Could I speak to that a little bit too? Which are questions that really came up as a result of this, all of the discussions we've had about the main library patio. I know that you've indicated that the Woodland patio would be a city project. That it would be the city who would have to, essentially do everything that you are doing for the, or have offered to do for the main library project. And what we were wondering in Lolly is what would it take for you to take on the Woodland Library patio project the same way you have embraced and taken responsibility for the main library project?
Well, I would say there's still city, so it's still in partnership with the city. It still goes through council and so through planning.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I would
But
say.
you're managing it.
And the donor, of course, so there were certain, opportunities that were presented for the main library, and for the library district at this time, and I'll speak for both of those, and I mean, that really is our priority, is the main library area. As again, thanks to much of your work, we used some improvements in Woodland. And so of course, we're always trying to make sure that we're benefiting all of the residents. So that is why the main library is our focus right now. I wouldn't say absolutely no. I just was knowing our capacity and commitment, kind of with our strategic direction on creating these flexible spaces and the opportunity of the donor in front of us. That's where our priority is. So I wouldn't say it's why I'm not doing this, but that's where I would
But
say.
if so you have a potential donor sitting in front of you right now in Lolly to fund all of the Woodland project. What would it take for you to take the same steps and management of the Woodland Library project, patio project, as you are for the main library project? If it were enclosed, would that change anything?
So I don't want to give you an answer tonight. I'd like to think about it because there's obviously some things that we would need to consider in partnership with the city. So I think that's really what I need to kind of suss out as to your question of what is needed. It's a long, as you guys know, public process is a long process, and there's capacity involved on both sides.
Well, that's what I'm asking really is, it's a project that would be similar, almost, it's extremely similar to the main library patio project. It's been approved by the commission. My understanding is that the people, for example, Gabe is very enthusiastic about it. I can't imagine that the city council members would not be enthusiastic about having a weed patch transformed into a really lovely outdoor reading space, especially considering the noise problems at the Woodland Library. So I think some of Lolly's concerns are that to get it done and get it done quickly, or quickly is a relative term when you're dealing with a public property, but having the library manage the project is certainly going to accelerate getting the library, the patio done with the main library. I think that's a given. Everybody believes that having the library involved will accelerate the project. How can that happen for the Woodland Library?
I think about it a good deal. I mean, I do, like I said, there's a variety of things. And as simple as what you're saying, is the responsibility for the upkeep, right? So if it's enclosed, how we staff it, that all matters, which is why these kind of advisory groups that thank you, you're going to be a part of, these are questions and objectives that we need to understand. This is the first time we've done something like this with the city of Los Altos. So I guess I'm tiptoeing instead of jumping head first, knowing, to say yes to a second project where we still need to have some details on how we could successfully move this forward. Does that make sense? So I absolutely agree that I need to answer your question. I just don't have the answer for you tonight.
Okay, and it does depend on whether or not this
It's lots of
will go through. Yeah.
Of course, and again, yes, like who's the leaf blower, right? Like those kind of things, which we certainly want to work in partnership to make sure that all happens.
Okay, all right, but those are considerations that.
Absolutely, and I'm, we're always thrilled and very appreciative of all of the support from Lolly and from you as well.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask you a question? And I don't know the answer to this. Did the Woodland patio project go before the city council?
No, it hasn't gone before the city council. It went through the library commission, got approved. I don't know. I don't know what happens at that point. I know for our parking study, it kind of just died. And when Gabe came, I said, hey, Gabe, we had a parking study. You think you could take a look at it? And then miraculously it got revived and actually implemented. There has been no
You need a capture when someone is going to leave.
well, you do, but you also need, you need to put it before the city council. If have funding before, we had no funding for the patio project. So it was going to have to go to the city council and it was going to have to go into their discussions about priorities and funding.
It did go to staff and there were conversations about what the city could do. I remember, Manny had a conversation with you, I think, about, I think it was Freddie.
Actually, go ahead.
Oh, anyway, I thought that I had discussed it with Manny. I thought he had discussed it with you about what the city was saying that they could do. But I don't think it went further than that. I think it was waiting for funding.
Yeah, I think,
Now that we have potential funding, what if we were to agendize this for a vote next time, that the commission can vote that this go before the council formally to request the council support? And more than support,
but so I think that's just it. If I think all of these questions need to be answered and figured out before the funding is going to be committed.
Mhm.
I mean, we have talked about funding it, but all of these issues need to be ironed out.
Well, but, well, okay, and so maybe they do. I'm just wondering, is that the exclusive process that you want to follow? Because couldn't we have the city manage the project? If you have the funding, I mean, it's, well, but if Lolly's willing to support it. If Lolly's willing to give the money, it is an eyesore. The citizens of South Los Altos want it. I mean, there's.
That's true.
support.
I mean, that's very true. That's a very good point.
There's a lot of noise in the library, which I think was the impetus for the discussion. And children are parked there, let's be honest, parents at work.
I think we should agendize this.
Yeah.
For next time.
Perfect, yeah. Okay.
Okay, and Cindy,
Mhm.
if we agendize this at the Library Commission and try to work through these issues, then we could go back with the information that we come away with. Then Lolly would have more data to consider,
Exactly.
okay? All right. Okay, let's do that. That makes sense, yeah.
Okay, so are we should have at least 3 people in agreement that we agendize this? Right, I agree.
I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah,
And we can.
yeah, I mean, that was what we were told was the rule. So we're trying to be, see, we follow rules. Okay, Cindy, that was Lolly. Did you want to talk on behalf of the TLA?
No, actually, I think that you have really covered the main point that NCLA met last month or last June. So I don't think there's anything more that I can add to the meeting. And also I wanted to let everybody know that the next meeting is scheduled for August 28th, which is a Monday at 5:30.
I forgot, I thought it was the 21st. Okay, thank you. All right, Friends of the Library update. Do we have an update from the Friends?
Janet, the new president, said she would write up something for me to present. I didn't see anything unless it was today. I forgot to check something more today on that. There's been no board meeting this month, so it's been pretty quiet. I would think we're getting ready for sale tomorrow. The one thing that's changed, I think, is we will be doing foreign languages for the first time in quite some time. There will be some at sale, but we've only officially started collecting them again for about the last 6 weeks or so. So I'm going to take them. That's the main thing. Anybody else? Yeah.
No, the board meeting is next week. The sale they're setting up and it's going to be going, and
This weekend.
thank you.
Yeah,
Probably in the
we
June.
saw. We saw. That's awesome. That's exciting. All right, item number 9, district updates.
Hey, so nice to see you all. So I just wanted to give you a few highlights from the report that is in the packet. So coming up this Saturday is our opioid awareness program. So one of the things that the county, we as part of the county have resource available through other departments. So the Behavioral Health Services Department is actually working in partnership with us to present these opioid awareness events, talking about the fentanyl crisis. We all can't turn the news on without hearing about it. And then the life-saving drug of Narcan. So everyone who attends actually receives a lot of information about what's going on, as well as how to administer Narcan. And so that will be, I think it's at 1:30 on Saturday here at the library. So as I said, we have our experts from behavioral health, and Supervisor Joe Simidian will also be there. In September, we again are partnering on some programming with county expertise on how to access mental health resources. And it's really interesting because it can be very difficult to navigate this, but we all have right to this. And so, again, in partnership, they're coming to talk to people about how you really can kind of get the help that you need, and really navigate those systems. So we're again very thankful, and that's going to be held on September 20th at 11 a.m. So again, I think those are really good examples of partnerships that the library is always trying to kind of collaborate with people and make sure that we're pushing out information for everyone's benefit. Summer is actually wrapping up, although I think it's going to be 100 degrees again. And so just as a highlight, I know Rose, that Rose will tell you more in her report. One of the highlights of the summer at the district was actually the Battle of the Bands. And that was held at the Milpitas Library. We had 3 teen bands, 3 adult bands. They rocked the house. Oh yeah, sorry, Kate, you always have to I jump all over, I know. And the winning band actually was bilingual and sang both in Tagalog and English. It was really wonderful to kind of be there to watch the younger musicians and the older musicians, because really music is a performing art. Past poet laureate Mighty Mike McGee was the MC for events, so there was also some poetry. So it was a very fun afternoon, and we were really happy to be able to bring something unique like that to the community. As school starts up, I always like to remind folks of our partnership with all of our school districts. So every student has access to the library for free with their student e-accounts, and we will be offering homework help at the library. We're still looking for volunteers. You only have to be 14 and only have to commit for 1 day a week. But I tell you, you watch those 8-year-olds getting help from those 14-year-olds. That's where the magic happens. So we're really excited to again bring people together in community there. And lastly, if you know a poet or you are one yourself, we are accepting applications for the County Poet Laureate. It actually is a 2-year appointment, and it is about a little bit about spreading joy really through poetry. The Poet Laureate does programs with us, does programs throughout Santa Clara County, and we've had all different kinds of people hold the position. Actually, it's a very fun event. So applications are just about open, and we work in partnership with Edson Creates and the county. So I encourage you to find the poet in your life and have them apply. That is all for me. Always happy to take questions. Except for Freddie's in one game.
Yeah, he'll take it. You won't answer. I saw Gilroy had a national night out, and how did that go?
Great. Those South County communities did have National Night Out, and their police departments really lead those down in their communities. And both of our libraries actually had at their big parks. They did have outreach booths and stuff. So it's always a fun event.
That's good. Yeah, I was thinking it would be very interesting that if we could have like a night at the library sponsored by the commission. Trucks or something. I don't know, just getting people here to talk, not staying too late, because I know that there's the 9 p.m. but just to, I don't know, to have people come out and have fun at the library. Yeah, maybe we could put that on a future agenda to talk about, perhaps. If other commissioners agree. Anything else? All right, Rose.
All right. So a few staff highlights. Just want to congratulate our library assistant, Devin. They earned their master's degree in library science and have gotten a job at Sunnyvale. We're sad to lose them, but it was a good opportunity, and it was the first library job they applied for and were hired for. So it's, we're just proud to see them move on and grow in their career. I do want to welcome some new staff. Harold, he's a new page at Los Altos. And Lorena is a new janitor at Woodland. Lorena chose not to share her picture, but we're very happy to have them and, see them, grow into our system. And so Lorena is also very proud to, if you go to Open Plus, we have Lorena's schedule kind of aligns with the Open Plus so that the library is ready for our Open Plus patrons or Open Access patrons. Let's see, next thing, I wanted to share photos of one of our very popular summer reading programs. This is Sterling the Bubblesmith. You see it was a full house and it was a great program that families really enjoyed. And as Jennifer mentioned, the opioid crisis overdose program is on Saturday, and we actually do have another one on the 31st. So the one on Saturday is the registration is getting full with our room capacity, but if that one does get full, we'll have another one that people can also attend on the 31st. Some statistics I just wanted to highlight. I was just comparing June of last year to June of this year. Patrons, items checked out, Los Altos saw 2.8% increase, Woodland saw 1.4%. Patrons served online, Los Altos saw 11.5% increase, Woodland 6.7%. And patrons served in person, 3% at Los Altos and 7.5% at Woodland. So it's all increased, especially from last year, which is aligned with what Julie was saying on the other stats that she showed. Some highlights for adult programs in August. In addition to the opioid programs, we have some photography, native plants, August 23rd and 29th. We are going to have a teen program to learn how to DJ on August 10th. And for children, we have a Qublet. Those are always very popular on August 9th. It's a theme program, Canine Companion, and is at Woodland. This is a new program. It's just like the Furry Friends, where we have the therapy dogs and children could read with them, and Furry Friends at Los Altos. And as Jennifer also mentioned, summer reading did wrap up. So starting August 1st, we did start handing out prizes. And I really want to thank the Friends for funding these prizes. Children get a free book of choice, a brand new book, a certificate, and the Friends have also offered to give a coupon for a free book at their book sale, which is this weekend or their next book sale, the next quarter. Teens get a gift card to Amazon or Starbucks for $10, and the adults get also the same coupon to the Friends book sale. And there's a raffle for an annual county parks pass, so we get 2 per library for that raffle. And then finally, just wanted to end with a compliment. Marianne, she's our passport clerk, and we're always getting very compliments about our passport experience. I think people have said they prefer to go to the library than the post office for their passport. And so this person specifically came to the desk to compliment the experience that they received. Yeah, that's all I have. If anybody has any questions.
No, it's not a question, but a comment. So I see the picture with the bubbles and all the kids there. And I was wondering, and I had asked Mary Jo, if you reach capacity, is there an interest in using the community center to host some of these events?
Our solution right now is actually, thanks because the Friends are generously funding, is that if we see that there are a lot of people, we actually ask the performer if they could do a second program. So it's back to back. So
Okay.
that seems to be working. For example, the Happy Birds, we have 3 back to back.
Okay. Would you be open to looking into that? Because I think the city is willing to partner with you.
Yeah,
Talk about that.
I'd be happy to. I mean, the idea with summer was to bring them into the library so they're part of the summer reading program and they could check out the books and get their prizes. But we partner with the city for the family fun days. But yeah, it'd be happy to.
Yeah, I assume the birds and the bubbles have to be up there, but maybe some of the other stuff could be in some of those very nice rooms. Yeah.
Thank you for doing the Narcan thing. That's a huge program. If it only saves one life, it's just huge, and I'm sure it's going to save lives. The other thing I want to say on the parks permit, I don't know if you guys know, you can get a parks permit from the, no wait. I haven't had to wait the last 2 times I've gotten it, so I just wanted to.
Yeah, the state library has actually supported that and has been really good about it. When
That's a
we
good
say we need more, they give us more. So it's a great deal. Yeah.
It's
a
$10.
secret. It's a secret. Yeah.
It's a
it's
$10
secret win.
bill for your hang tag.
Wait, say it again, what is that?
So you get a hang tag to go to any of the state parks, yeah, for free.
You
For
check it
like-
out, right?
Yeah, for like 3 weeks, you check it out. And I've used it, it's pretty good.
Any questions, comments? If not, city staff updates.
Yeah. I just have a few things. As Jennifer was saying, summer is wrapping up. And it was a busy time for us in recreation. Tomorrow is the last day of summer camps. Yay. And we had a very successful summer concert series for the first time since pre-COVID. We did 6 concerts and we had between 500 and I'd say 700 people at each one, back and forth between Grant Park and Hillview. And so that was very fun, really great to see the community all out there with their picnics and families. And that was super successful. And so coming up, we do have a couple things. One of them is the Los Altos softball game, which is on the 19th. And the teams are put together and the rivalry, it's going to be at, this is our next family fun day. And again, we thank the friends who co-sponsor that event and the library who comes and does a great activity. We're actually going to have a theme for this one is wild animals, or I can't remember what. So we're going to have them out on the baseball field, I think. So that will be really fun. And yeah, that's what's coming up. And then we're going into fall. So the last thing is, you've noticed Anthony here beside me, and some of you know this, but with some of the commission changes, our department recreation has taken back the youth commission. So we have the youth commission and the combined Park and Rec with Public Arts Commission, which is called the Park, Art,
Recreation and Cultural Commission.
Thank you. And so we have the Youth Commission and that commission. We also support the Senior Commission. And so we are handing the Library Commission over to the City Manager's office, and Anthony is going to be your new liaison for this commission, which is really awesome. You're going to be very close to the City Manager's office. Really have Gabe's ear because Anthony has it.
I don't think you should hide me up that. I know where to find him.
Yeah. So he will, so I won't, this will be my last meeting unless he needs me next time. And so I might be here to assist next time, but
We'll play it by ear.
yeah,
but,
we're gonna play by.
if you guys need anything, I'm happy to help. And I know big shoes to fill, so I'm well aware, Julie's talked up Mary Jo's impact on the
Yeah.
commission, so I know that I'll do my best, but I won't be Mary Jo, so bear with me.
Mary Jo, thank you for everything.
It's been
It's
wonderful.
such a pleasure working with you.
Thank you.
Enjoy it. Well, let's give her a round.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, any questions, comments? Okay, subcommittee reports, awareness.
We did not meet this past month, and we do want to report that the handover to Rose of doing the monthly ads has gone beautifully. And so we just look at them to, like as a double check. And the new software, everything's going really, really well. So that's been a real success. So that's it.
Infrastructure.
Oh, we also did not meet. We also did not meet this past month. I think primarily because there is so much going on in infrastructure that's kind of up in the air.
Mhm.
And I think we'll see how that goes going forward, especially since the Woodland project from a subcommittee point of view is done.
Mhm.
And so it's kind of more of a, it's out there now, waiting to be executed. And then, so we'll see what happens with subcommittees going forward, and we'll reconstitute, recreate, refigure what we're doing.
Okay. Futures, I think we had our presentation. And services.
We met, we looked over some of the areas of services that we can attack in the future. Also, reading over the 2019 needs assessment, I mean, a lot of the things that were in the needs assessment were addressed. The drop-off boxes, things like that. The latest thing we're looking at, and it comes in line with the foreign language, is to see, is there a need for a foreign language section? Which brings up really interesting questions that we talked about, like why do people want foreign language in an American library? But also, I guess Friends is now offering foreign language books, so there may be, let's see how that goes. That may give us a trend to your patrons. So. And that's pretty much what we did on services list.
Can I bring one thing up that's sort of infrastructure, but it's kind of services, it's infrastructure. It's just an aside that Gabe shared with me, and it's of interest to all of us about the parking issues for the library. Gabe said that in doing some of the planning for the dog park, that they had come up with space for up to 33 parking spaces. He said he doubted it would ever be the 33, but that we should take some comfort in that they have found space for up to 33 parking spaces. They're in Campbell, but.
Well, we should find comfort that they listen to the populace.
Yeah, well, so this is interesting. He did not give me any other details, but he just wanted to impart some good news about our parking situation. So we'll see where that goes.
They're working on it. I know that they're working really hard on figuring that out. They heard everybody. And they have a few solutions, some which actually came from you guys. So I don't know any details really, other than that they're really working on it and that they have found a way to make sure there's not a net loss of parking spaces with the dog.
Which is great.
I've been
You
in
have-
those meetings, so we've been walking the civic center, so we have a rough idea of what we can and can't do, what's going to be most expensive versus least expensive. So it's been heard and we're working on it. And hopefully they will be just as convenient as the parking spaces that may be adjusted in the future.
Okay,
I will say the 33 number, I know he emphasized, but I think that might be a little more on the higher spectrum of what we're looking at, but I know that our goal is to replace at least what will be lost. So
Great.
That's good. It really was good news.
Look forward to hearing more about that. Request for future agenda items.
I have one.
Yeah.
So I was hoping that on our next meeting in September that we could review as a commission and approve a nomination to the librarian contest, which was in our packet.
I would support that.
And another supporter.
I didn't hear it. What's in our packet that I didn't see?
There's an opportunity to nominate someone.
Yeah.
Okay. So there'll be a nomination letter to be reviewed. Always, at that meeting, we could, like edit it, and then it will be finalized. And if we vote on it, then we can submit it.
But who are we gonna nominate? You mean those guys, yeah.
Yes, okay. Should we agendize the subcommittees? Will we have direction at that point from this?
We'll just keep
I
it
think
on there. I think we should wait on that,
Okay. Okay.
because I'm not sure if it's gonna go on the 22nd.
Okay.
I hope it will, but we'll, depending on the agenda.
We talked about the Woodland patio project. Anything else?
You had mentioned the night at the library. event.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, we could do that. We could talk about it. Yeah, we could talk about that. Okay. Yeah, anything else?
We don't have anything.
Mhm.
Next meeting September, right?
Early September, yes.
Okay. All right,
So we have meetings, August, September, October, and then a break November, December, and then January, March, May, and then a break June, July. That's what you voted on last time. Just to remind everybody.
Here's the calendar.
I act like I remember that. I didn't until I read the minutes.
All right, everybody, thank you so much. The meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have plans to get a job. Well, now do this in December. Yeah,
The public. Communities that show the contract with the fire.
Well, yes, I know you want to, yeah.